Bees, and for the next hour we'll be joined by Mr. Corey Taylor for Scuzz Meets Corey Taylor. We open this show the same way every single time, but who were the people, who were the bands and artists that made you first want to be in a band? Like when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, oh man, that is a very large list. Obviously, when I was younger, like the first time, like MTV was like really first started when I was like about 10,
right?
You know, so I was about 9 or 10, and that's when you really got to see the bands, you know. And I can remember the first video that really struck me was Motley Crue's "Looks to Kill." I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean,
Mad Max
done up. I mean, it was crazy, man. And they looked pissed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they were pissed off. So that really kind of stirred something in me. So, you know, I mean, I was a huge fan of Def Leppard, Pyromania especially. I mean, that was just a huge album for me. So somewhere between that, like those two bands, like that's when I really started to kind of get into hard rock and stuff like that. But then my babysitters, they listened to 70s punk. Like they'd bring over their vinyl while they were watching me, you know. So I got Taste of the Damned, I got the Clash, I got the Pistols, the Buzzcocks, like I mean all these great. I mean it was fantastic. X-Ray Specs.
Amazing.
You know? I mean, you know, I can remember going, what's a poser? You know, like I mean, because I am a poser and I don't care. I'm like, what does that mean? Do they just, you know, do they stand? They pose? Is that what they do? And then there was a 3-month period where I really wanted to be Conan the Barbarian.
Wow.
That's a true story.
Wow.
It was on HBO, and I had this length of wood, and I would practice the sword thing that he would do, and I had it so down, and I would explain to my babysitters, I need to do my sword practice. And I would do it right in the middle of the living room. I've never told anyone that story. That's a Scuzz exclusive.
I hope that Bruce Dickinson did the same thing prior to fencing.
Right? Oh, please let that be true. But honestly, you know, what really made me want to be in a band was the fact that I had all these songs in my head that didn't exist.
Right.
You know, I mean, I had all these ideas for songs and melodies and whatnot, and that made me not necessarily want to play shows, but just be in a band. You know, because my first live show was terrible.
Right.
Oh my, I was so nervous that my voice was just cracking like crazy, and I just sounded like a frog, like on a day pass, basically. Like you can be a human for one day, and it was terrible. But the last song that we played, we did a cover of Anarchy in the UK.
Wow.
And I was so into it because I was playing guitar at the time.
Oh, right.
And I was just like, oh, you're right. And the whole audience, I mean, and that's something about that just got me going, man. You know, and that was it. I dropped the guitar and just decided I was just going to sing, and rest is history.
And what did you think the first time you saw Slipknot?
I was at their very first show. And,
right.
It was my friend Denny's birthday, and no, it was the day before his birthday. I apologize, because Stone Sour was playing the next night.
Right.
And I was standing there. There was about 40 people in the bar, and I was standing right in front of this because I knew all these guys, and this was like they've been building this for about a year. Nobody knew what to expect, you know, except for their close friends and whatnot. And they walked through the audience to get to the stage. I mean, and Clown, of course, being in full rage mode, is shoving people, you know, he's grabbing trash cans and throwing them up in the air.
Something's never changed.
It was much more G.G. Allen at the time. I mean, it was very, very confrontational, but it was so ferocious. And I stood there and I watched the entire set, and I was just mesmerized. I was blown away. And I couldn't tell you why, but and I've gone on record as saying this. Something in my head said, I'm going to sing for these guys someday. I don't know why. I mean, I dedicated everything to Stone Sour.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, it was essentially my band, you know. But just for some reason, I just was like, wow, you know. I mean, it just struck me. And then a year later, they asked me to join.
So when the call came, was it an
call? There was no call.
No?
They walked into the porn shop.
Oh, really?
They walked in. Now, mind you.
What, all eight of them?
No. It was, now, here's a little fun fact. When I saw them, they were only a 7-piece.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because Andy, the original singer, played percussion and sang.
Right.
I mean, he's a fantastic. He's in a band called Pain Face back in Des Moines.
Right.
Check them out. They're really, really good. They have a webpage. I can't think of what it is. Go to Facebook.
Yeah.
It was yeah. I mean, they were essentially a 7-piece. And I was at the porn shop that night, and I was it was midnight to 8. And I mean, I wasn't expecting to see anyone that I knew, you know, to be honest. Every once in a while, some friends of mine would come up and we'd play cards and whatnot and drink copious amounts of coffee. But in walks, there's 3 or 4 of them. I know Clown was there, Joey was there, I think Mick was there, and I believe Craig.
Right.
But you never know if Craig's there because he doesn't say a damn word. It never does. I mean, and I've known the cat for over 20 years.
Right.
I've had maybe 10 good conversations with him. That's how silent that killer is. They walked in and they did a lap around the shop first. Like, they didn't come right up to the counter.
Right.
And I'm like, what's going on? Now, I know there's this whole mythology around this meeting right now where Clown was just like, we threatened to kick his ass if he didn't join the band. That's all false. I'm here to pop his little bubble because that's not what happened. It's very lovely thought to think that they was like, we love you, we'll kill you. No,
dildo in hand.
That is not at all what happened. So I'm sitting at the counter, they wave, and I'm like, what are these guys doing here, you know? And they walked around, checking, oh, look at that movie, blah, you know, walk by the what we called the soft goods. Yeah, and they came, they rounded around, they came up to the counter, and Clown, I mean, much to his credit, he just went, look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. We want you to be our singer. We want you to try out. We want you to be our singer. And then they kind of laid it out for me, and I just kind of, and this part's true, I stared at the counter. I was like, you know, I mean, I'd never been asked to join another band before, you know, especially something like this where, like, it was so weird, man, because literally a year and a half before, I was just like, I'm gonna sing for this band, and all of a sudden, they're coming to me, and I'm like, So I went in, and I recorded some, I tried it out because I wasn't sure, you know, I'd never sang that heavy before.
Right.
You know, I'd never attempted anything that heavy before. Because it was all melodic for me. You know, there was some edge to it, but it was never that heavy. And I did 2 songs. I did Me Inside and Prosthetics. And I rewrote the lyrics for Me Inside and Prosthetics. And it worked, you know. And it was just me, Clown, and Joey in the studio. And I saw out of the corner of my eye, they sat up as soon as I hit the big chorus on Me Inside. And the rest is history.
So that first touring cycle for Slipknot, was it as bedlam as the press made out? And the first thing that I ever saw of you guys was a little news vignette on the Headbangers Ball of the guys punching each other before going on. Yeah. Like, there was literally a flip of the coin and then clump. Was that a fair representation of that 18 months?
There are days when I wake up and I can feel that whole year and a half in the fatty tissue in my back. I mean, because of that year and a half, I probably have no cartilage left in my knees. I have assorted burns and whatnot on my legs.
Wow.
My cornea was scratched. Both of them was scratched and almost detached.
How did you get burns on your legs?
They set me on fire during Scissors. Gotta love your friends, man. They're great. It was crazier than you can even possibly know. Like, nothing we've been able to say has ever encapsulated it. I mean, you said bedlam.
Yeah.
And I immediately what if bedlam was worse? That's what it was. Now, you have to understand as well that I've never known, myself included, 9 men who were more hungry than we were. Not only hungry, but messed up, violent, angry, so very passionate. Not only to just make music, but to just, to spread it, you know? And you got to understand, before we even got on the road, we had dozens of people tell us that we were dumb, that we were insane for trying to do this. Think about the period that this was coming out in, you know, and everybody lumps us in with that goddamn
Biscuit
new metal.
Kid Rock.
It's fine. I know that like the first album really, you know, and a little bit of Iowa kind of has that hip hop thing to it. We did it because we could. We did it because we could. I'm probably one of the few dudes from that scene who could keep up with Eminem, you know, just because, you listen to that first album, it's spitfire, you know, and that's Ross going, all right, this song's great, we're going to turn this up to 10.
Yeah.
And it was just frenetic, you know, and, we might as well have been a meteor, you know, just ravaging the planet at the time. We were so ready to just destroy everyone's expectations and just set fire to everything and just reset everything, you know? If we could have been an EMP and just destroyed all technology, we would have done it, you know? It was that insane.
The intensity of the shows, was that something that was off stage as well? Because the shows were just like, you mentioned the Astoria on something that we'd previously done. Like, was it like that off stage as well? Was there that level of like, just intensity is the only word that I can think of that even gets close to describing.
It's crazy. Like we're backstage, like, huffing the crow.
Yeah.
We didn't wash anything, you know? We didn't wash anything.
Wow.
You know, so...
Do you mind explaining how it is for people who might not understand those three words?
So clown...
Brutal.
Oh, it's essentially what it is. We had a crow in a jar, and we brought it with us, and we would huff it before the shows, and it would make us throw up on each other. And then Sid and Clown would flip for a punch in the face. Or me and Clown would flip for a punch in the face. You know, this is after imbibing, by the way, 10 Red Bulls in a row, because we're idiots. You got to understand, we were bad waking up.
Yeah.
But then by the time we got on stage, we were just ready to eat the world's face, you know? We were so out of control. I don't know how we survived, to be honest. That 18-month period, I have flashes of memory, but it was so quick. The second time we came to Europe, we did 29 shows in a row.
Wow.
And I had no voice, but something would just click right before the showtime.
Yeah.
And it was on, you know? That was the infamous TFI Fridays that we did with, what's his face?
Chris Evans.
Yeah. That's it.
Cameramen being pulled into the audience. They lost the cameraman that night.
We did a French TV show, which was very weird, where Mick was standing on my mic cord and yanked the mic out of my hand, and I missed the first line and a half of Wait and Bleed, which is there for everyone to see. It's pretty sweet.
Wow.
But we were so into it.
Yeah,
you know? So you do that many shows in a row, you better be ready to do it, you know? And we got home, and we only had like 3 or 4 days off at a time, because we'd go right back out on the road, you know? There were times where we didn't eat. There were times where we just hated each other, you know? And me and Clown, we had it in our heads that we were like, you know, it would be amazing if we just broke up. We put this one album out, we toured for 18 months, and then we just break up, you know? Because Refused had just broken up, you know? Yeah. They were one of our favorite bands.
Yeah.
And they were really at that point where they were gonna break, you know? And then they quit it, you know? And I was just like, that's genius. Let's top it though. One album and gone, you know? And just leave people going, what the hell just happened, you know? Luckily, clearer minds prevailed there. I won't say stronger minds, but clearer minds definitely prevailed.
And you were the first to unmask, right? When you did Spider-Man for the
Kind of, yeah.
Right?
Well, me and Joey both were. Because
Right.
Joey was doing Murder Dolls.
Right.
And I was doing, me and Jim were both doing was Stone Sour. We caught a lot of flack for it, but my reasoning is the same as it is today. You know, it's two different bands.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want, Stone Sour to inhibit Slipknot or vice versa.
Mm.
You know, I mean, it meant that much to me. And, yeah, I mean, and to me, it wasn't a big deal. To the rest of the world and to, most of the other guys in the band, it was a huge thing, But that's the only way you progress. You have to go against the status quo. You have to go against the grain if you're going to figure anything out in life. You have to keep thinking outside of what you've already done. And that's essential for your existence,
And going with Bother first, because, I mean, it might seem alien now, but if you remember, like, when there was just Slipknot.
Yeah.
Like, going in with Bother was such a bold, brave step.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment you went, are people going to get this? Like, me and an acoustic guitar from Sick and, like, all the madness of that first record?
You got to understand, I mean, my outlook on music has never changed. To me, music is music.
Uh-huh.
There's no cutting it up. There's no separating it in genres. There's no, putting it in exclusive boxes where nothing can get in, There's music I don't like, obviously. And I'm pretty good on record about that.
Yeah.
But to me, music is music, And there's essentially two types of music. There's good music and there's bad. And that's the end of that list. It worries me that there is so much compartmentalization in music, because that means that there will never be another crossover. Mm-hmm. And if you do, you only cross over a little bit, What the hell would you call Led Zeppelin? In this day and age, you would have 12 different departments trying to call them 36 different names.
Mm-hmm. Face name all the same.
They're a rock band. That's all they ever were. But if you look at their musical history, they did whatever they wanted. They did acoustic stuff. They did the bluesy rock stuff. They did the dirty metal stuff. I mean, they did it all, And that's how my outlook is on music. And music, a song is a song, Bother, in my opinion, is just as heavy as Sick. And anyone who disagrees with me is an idiot.
Was the plan to always go back to Stone Sour?
No, it wasn't, honestly. I mean, I never really left. I mean, that's the thing that people don't understand, I mean, I did, but I didn't, I mean, there was, it was weird how it all came about, because me and Josh Rand, we've known each other since we were 15 and 16 years old, and respectively, because he's younger than me, the bastard. And we have always worked music together. We've always recorded music together. We've always just done demos, whether or not that music was good or not. Right. There's some of that stuff I listen back and I go, good God, really? Like, I sound like my balls are about this big. But yeah, I mean, we've always worked on music together, even when I was doing Stone Sour, and it was completely autonomous from each other. And then I joined Slipknot, but me and Josh continued to kind of make music together and whatnot. And but Stone Sour was essentially done. Jim and Sean Economaki, they went on to do a band called Dead Front, and then we stole Jim from them. And there were a lot of angry people at us in that town, but it was just meant to be. It really was just meant to be. So there was a time. Stone Sour really wasn't doing anything, but then between the self-titled album in Iowa, the four members of Stone Sour, because it was a four-piece, we went in and we just recorded a bunch of stuff that we had never recorded, like a bunch of the originals that we had never recorded and whatnot, stuff like not Tumult, but Your God. We did that song. We did, there was a handful of other ones, because they were just great songs, and we just wanted to be in it, and we could afford to pay for the studio time then, so we just kind of went in and did that. We jammed here and there, and obviously, I knew Economaki, and we still hung out and whatnot. And I was doing this project with Josh, and with every trip home, they just started to get closer and closer together. You know, it was very weird. Because me and Josh were doing this thing called Project X.
Right.
Which was essentially stuff like Get Inside, and stuff like Idle Hands, you know, like a heavier but a melodic kind of thing. And it was slowly but surely starting to get back to the style that Stone Sour kind of left off on, you know, which is why when we did the first album, you know, songs like Monolith set really well with songs like Blotter, you know. I mean, it just had a great juxtaposition, you know. And so it got to be about the time that we were going to try and figure out what me and Josh were going to do. And we got Joel, our old drummer from Stone Sour, to jam with us. Sean immediately jumped on. So it was essentially the four of us. And then we really wanted Jim. And then Jim really wanted to join us.
Right.
But it was kind of like asking a girl to dance. Like nobody really wants to say anything, and the girl really wants you to ask. And finally, he just showed up at practice, and we were like, "Well, you got your gear? All right, let's do this. It's about time."
Amazing.
You know, God, we lost so much time, and he's just like, "What?" And that's where, you know, and it was in those jams that we came up with songs like Inhale. And the funny thing was Bother. Really, really good. You can't hear that until part 2. Sorry, it's the last track on part 2. So
right.
But a song like Absolute Zero, there were a couple riffs that were actually in the original song House of Golden Bones, because that's a title I've had for a long time.
Right. Okay.
And so it was really cool to kind of start putting the pieces together and really see it all kind of line up. And I think this is our first foray that these are our first 2 albums that it feels like I don't hear anything else that could have been put in there. Like, I'm really proud of it.
And how difficult does it become to juggle 2 bands and as well to be doing the odd solo thing here and there? Like, does it ever feel like spinning plates?
Right. Yeah. Well, if those plates are like, you know, the size of a Toyota, right. I guess. It's weird, man. You know, I mean, over the years, I don't know if it's just because my profile has become a little higher or whatnot, but I'm just getting a lot more opportunity, you know,
right?
Which is fantastic, you know. And I'm the first one to go. You know, I'm extremely lucky for everything I have. You know, I mean, I worked my ass off. You know, I've tried to put some quality in the world, but I'm extremely lucky. You know, I mean, this could have gone south just that
Yeah,
quickly,
of course.
you know. So I'm very proud of what I've done. I'm very lucky for what I've done. So the opportunities that come my way, I try to really take advantage of it, but I only take advantage of the ones that I'm interested in.
Right.
You know, I wanted to write books. I'm writing books now. Who the hell would have thought that? You know, I had got the opportunity to do this 4-part miniseries comic book that follows the story in House of Golden Bones, which is fantastic. You know, I'm starting to, probably in the next year or so, me and Clown are going to break ground on our first film for LBF. I'm developing a TV show that I co-wrote the concept with a friend of mine, and we're basically taking pitch meetings at all the cable networks.
Can I stop you there, because I'm going to ask you about all of those.
Yeah.
All of those actually individually. So, we were talking about the wealth of things that you've got going on.
Yeah, I just hit you with a barrage of good stuff, really.
So, right, let's start with the comic book series.
Yes.
Right, so always been a comic book guy.
A huge comic book fan.
And how did you determine, like, the story itself and who you'd get involved and all that kind of thing? Because you must have gone like, oh, I love these artists and I love these guys.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I it was one of those things that, I mean, it didn't even really occur to me to do a comic book until the story was done. And then, I mean, really done, because I did like 2 minor rewrites before I was really happy with it. And I remember looking at it going, this would be a great comic, you know, in a Grant Morrison meets Garth Ennis kind of way.
Right.
You know? And the more I thought about it, I was just like, well, why not? You know, I mean, this is a huge project. Why not make it bigger than, you know, and why not fill up all of my spare time and just make every off day a non-show day, essentially, because I'm always working. Yeah, man. So, you know, we started, kind of going to different comic book, companies and whatnot. And there was talk of me working with DC at first, and then it just got to be like you were just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally I was just like, I don't have time to wait on people who can't figure it out. You're either in or you're out. That's the rule of my life. You're either in or you're out, and that's it. And luckily, there were a couple of really amazing companies waiting in the wings, and essentially we went with Dark Horse because they just had the vision like I did. You know, it's not going to be a long, ongoing series. It's a 4-part series that is adapted from the short story that I wrote for the comics. You know? And it's not easy. Like, I mean, the first issue, I think I did 4 drafts of it before I actually really got, and even then I had to finish it off with the help of someone. Yeah. Because I'd never done it before. Yeah, you know? I mean, I was essentially learning on the go, you know. I now know what, like, adrenaline looks like, you know. So, and I just finished issue 2, and I sent that in, which I'll probably get like 1,000 notes on, but but it's cool, you know. I mean, it's really cool because I'm starting to see imagery now. I'm starting to see covers, and I'm starting to see mock-ups, you know, and it's
the cool part now.
Yeah. This is like you're past the dull bits, you know, the boring crap, and now it's really, you know, it's starting to get serious, you know. So issue 1 drops April 17th next year.
Amazing.
And, yeah, I'm really stoked about it.
Working on a film doesn't surprise me.
Yes.
Working on a film with Clown, because you guys are the ultimate yin and yang. Like having, you've seen the Mayhem Festival thing we did? Right, let's go back to that, right? So you guys are like the ultimate, like, totally different characters. Like, I just can't imagine you guys sitting there. I can imagine working on music because Slipknot is the sound of the apocalypse. Yeah. But a film...
Between the two of us, you know, I mean, we're both huge cinephiles. You know? Right. I mean, we love movies, and we love different kinds of movies, but we essentially love the same movies for different reasons.
Right.
And
see, this is the yin and yang thing.
That's why it lines up. That's why it, like, comes together, because we see things so differently, and yet we agree and we're passionate about it, you know? So Living, Breathing Films was essentially our way of putting our money where our mouth is, because, you know, we gripe about movies all the time. It's just like, well, that was crap. Why was it crap? Well, because of this. Well, this is why I thought it was crap. You know? we want people to think, we want people to be interested. We want to engage people, but at the same time, it's got to be palatable. We want people to enjoy it, but we don't want a specific group of people to enjoy it, So it's essentially cutting your teeth and learning all over again, which is exciting for me because I love anytime I can get on the ground floor and take something over, I feel really good. I put on my fig leaves and my, it's pretty awesome.
You ever acted before?
No, not in a real film.
Considering it?
I've thought about it. Yeah, I've gotten offered a couple of gigs, but I've had to. It's schedule-wise, it just didn't work. But I'm not the guy who aspires to, to be, the hero or anything like that.
Right.
I just want to be a dead body on CSI. That's all I care about.
You want to be the grandma in the cellar in The Evil Dead instead of being Bruce
Someone's in my fruit cellar.
Yes. So you mentioned more books as well.
Oh, yeah.
I wondered, because the first book that you did wasn't an autobiography, was it partly that you didn't want to give too much of yourself away? Because your work is so multifaceted. I never feel like we know the real Corey Taylor because there's so many different sides to you anyway.
Yeah.
And also kind of because is there you think that there's going to be loads more to come, and there'll be a time and place for an autobiography in 20 years' time?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I didn't want to do an autobiography because everybody and their mom does an autobiography. Yeah. So, when the book came out, I was 36, 37, I think. And, there's just a lot more that I want to do, I wanted to tell some stories, but I wanted to tell it in context,
Yeah.
And so, the 7 Deadly Sins just made sense, because I originally wanted to do a philosophy book. Would have been that thick.
Wow.
And no one would have bought it because they would have been too busy killing rats with it somewhere. Luckily, I was talked out of that. But
is it still on the cards? I bet it's still on the cards.
God, no. Actually, the pitch that I sent to the publisher, I turned it into a four-part thing in my column in Rock Sound. So I was.
All right, fair.
I was like, well, I put it out there. I don't care either way.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that it was such a success that I get to do book 2, which I'm nearly done with right now.
Oh wow!
Probably have it out summer, early fall, something like that. It's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Heaven, and then there's a subtext that is way too long, but it's basically about me pissing off zealots and skeptics. So it's pretty awesome, and it's about my experiences with the paranormal and all the places that I've lived and all the things that I've seen and whatnot. And basically me saying, it's me trying to work out how I can be this firm believer in spirits and ghosts and whatnot, and a pretty devout atheist, which I know is kind of an oxymoron if you think about it. But
wasn't there a bunch of paranormal stuff in the making of Slipknot records?
Yes, there's a whole chapter about the mansion.
Right, yeah.
Which I will not call it the Houdini mansion anymore because in my research, I realized that not only did Houdini not have anything to do with it, but his wife had nothing to do with it as well. It's never been owned by either of those people.
Right.
Ever. So I don't know who started calling it the Houdini mansion, but it's completely false. And I will not, perpetuate that ignorance. So, there's a whole chapter about the things that happened there. And all the places that I've been. I actually went out on some ghost hunts of my own. And
no way.
With friends, which was so funny. There was some good moments. It was pretty funny.
So, and music-wise, so you got the second of the two halves.
Part 2 drops actually probably in April.
Right.
We're gonna try and time it right around the time that issue 1 of the comic comes out.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
What's beyond that? Are you ever gonna get round to a solo record?
No. Well, not right away. You know? I mean, if anything runs true to form, I'll probably start working on my first solo album when I'm 50.
when you get some time.
Which will be fine because it'll be all acoustic anyway. And I'm not going to go jumping around trying to sell a new album. It's like, check me out, I'm 50.
Yeah.
I'm 50.
Have you
50 years old.
Your Waylon Jennings moment.
No, I'll get out there. I'll be closer to Neil Young than anything else.
Oh, right.
But, next couple of years, start kind of starting to put the pieces together for a new Knot album. You know?
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Like, because I was under the impression like that 2013 was going to be pretty much like no Slipknot, and then the offers come in.
We added 4 shows. Kind of selfish on my part, but well, no, I mean
Can't turn down Donington.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was cool that I could do it with both bands, you know, because I'm essentially doing that as well with Ozfest Japan.
Oh, right, yeah.
Slipknot's headline in the first night, and then the second night with Black Sabbath, Stone Sour's playing with Tool and Black Sabbath, so that'll be pretty sweet. But I have some selfish reasons why I'm doing it, and it's to help my mother-in-law. I just lost my father-in-law about a month ago yesterday. And it's this, you know, it's me basically guaranteeing that she'll never have to pay a hospital bill. So, you know, it's good. It's good to be able to kind of do that, you know. So as much as I want to play for the fans, as well, I want to, you know, I have to take care of my family. So it is what it is.
And so, film.
Yes.
Comics.
Yes.
Books.
TV show.
TV show.
Yes.
So, can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do it. Right.
Yeah.
How far along have you got with this? How the hell are you going to cram all this in?
I have no idea. Well, I'm not going to be the showrunner, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I mean, it's essentially a concept that I came up with my good friend Paul Brown, who has directed many of the videos that you've just seen today, including Snuff. It's kind of like a Supernatural meets X-Files meets Fringe. Like, it's really, really cool. And if we get to do it, it'll be really awesome. But we've been able to flesh out a really amazing pilot. And we're shopping it to all the cable companies in about a month.
There you go, man.
It's gonna be great. Yeah.
TV show, second half.
If I can't get a walk-on role in my own show, I'm an asshole.
Yeah, come on, you need to do the Stan Lee thing at the very least.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Well, I don't know about each episode, but it'll definitely be cool, you know.
And second half of Stone Sour, and start piecing together a Knot album slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I got to do a song with Dave Grohl.
What?
Sorry, that just came to me. Yeah. You know the Sound City movie that he's doing?
Oh, yeah.
I'm in it.
Oh, killer.
Talking about Iowa, because we did Iowa on that board.
Oh, right.
So that got Dave thinking. He was just like, oh, I've got this song, you know, and because he does songs with everyone that's in the film. And it's me, Dave, Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, and Scott Reeder from Caius and Unita. Yeah, or is it Unita or Unita? I think it's Unita. United.
No idea.
He's from Caius.
Yeah, Caius.
And he's an amazing bass player. And it's rad. I just heard the final mix on the song, and it's one of the best things I've ever done. Yeah, man, it's sick.
The life of Corey Taylor, we get through 8 things, and there's still an and another one.
Oh, yeah.